I'm happy to be back in the tent of Abu Sabah. I have found him to be my favorite person to interview among the Bedouin.
لا لا بس قول له
Abu Sabah considers himself to be a very lowly person. Everyone else is better than him.
والناس كلها أحسن منه.
Oh, I think he's not just a sheikh, he's my best informant, and he's also the most enjoyable host.
أبو صباح قول له يعني بيعتبر نفسه.
I consider myself still the lowliest person, but my father taught me all the customs and traditions that I know.
اللي أبوه دربه عليهن.
Well, part of what I appreciate about this lifestyle is how much nobility and honor there is with it. I understand why they called kings shepherds.
راعي.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him,
محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام
used to
كان
herd
يرعى
sheep.
الغنم.
Well, also we have figures like Abraham that are shepherds of large flocks. Well, you can give us a lot of insight and understanding because many of us never lived this lifestyle.
لا لا قول لك بيقولوا
Whoever you are, if you're a foreigner or someone from my people, I welcome you. This is what we've learned, this is our traditions, this is what our king has taught us.
Well, one of my first questions has to do with the topic of provision because the Psalm says that because God is my shepherd, I have everything, I don't need anything.
إحنا بالنسبة للغنم
So at this time of year with our sheep, we're looking for grazing for them, but if they don't have enough grazing, we have to get supplementary grain feeding. Before we could get things like supplementary feeding in, because of the vehicles we've got to do that now, it was very difficult when there wasn't enough grazing around, and sometimes you'd have to go a really long distance, days away from the tent, in order to find the grazing and the water for your sheep.
You're describing a time when things were simpler.
بسيطة أكثر والأكل على أرحى. شوية حبات.
Life was simpler and the eating was simpler. It was just simple food we were eating.
I know that the work of a shepherd is very hard just to get food and water, but there's even more.
The sheep herder needs to be smart to understand his sheep, and he needs to know where to find water. You can't truck it in like we do today. You really need to know where to find it. So you know where the local springs are, you take your sheep there, then you take your sheep away to graze somewhere else, and you bring them back the next day to the spring again so they can keep on drinking.
So the shepherd needs to have a big heart for the flock, but also has to be smart.
If your heart and your mind is not into it, it doesn't work.
Right.
So like with anything, other things, whether it's a vehicle or whatever else, if your heart and your mind is not into it, you won't look after it properly. And if you don't fear God, then you won't be looking after him properly.
I know that there's a lot of hard work during the day, but I also know that there are many threats and predators that come at night.
So the shepherd, of course, he's awake all day with the sheep, but he also needs to be still aware of what's happening around him in case a wolf were to come. A wolf comes, tries to take a lamb, the dogs respond, of course the shepherd is up straight away.
So I was reading and it says that there is a deep, dark shadow in the valleys at night, and there's fear that comes over many because of the predators.
So they would light a fire in these valleys at night time, and that would serve to keep the animals away as well.
Well, I bet these hands have had a lot of experience not only leading the sheep but also sometimes fighting predators, is that right?
So look, we're Bedouin. These are our hands. Firstly, we take care of our sheep. Secondly, we do some harvesting as well to get the food for them and for ourselves.
But I bet, have you had sometimes you've had to fight animals like wolves or maybe some hyenas?
If the hyena gets amongst the sheep, it will just keep on killing and killing and killing. And if the shepherd is not there to protect them, it will just keep killing till dawn and leave 100 sheep dead. Whereas the wolf will come and just take one of them.
So what did people do before guns? What did they do to fight hyenas?
So one way his ancestors, he heard about it, would be that they would use a big hole, it could be like a dried up well or something, and they would, using kind of a tripod system, they would hang a young lamb over it so that the hyena would circle around trying to get it, and then its desperation to get it, it would fall in.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I wanted to ask about is about guidance. I heard that there is a certain kind of Bedouin called a baheth. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's kind of a scout that sometimes the military will use because the Bedouin know how to read the stars and they can find water, they can find the enemy because they're so good in the desert.
I'm one of those.
Oh, wow.
القطب
Said, so we've got two particular stars that we're following.
نجمين عندنا. أيوة.
Wow.
مثلا ودي الجنوب بروح على القطب الجنوبي.
So from the northern constellations,
الشمال بروح على
he can work out where he is, and from the southern constellations, he can work out where he is and go east or west or north or south according to those.
بروح على الشرق.
Well, thank you very much for all of your insight. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay.